Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential because when you keep growing, we all get stronger. And we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Random Fit, which is a podcast about everything random in the fitness and performance world. I am Wendy Batts, here with my friend and co-host, as always, Ken Miller. Ken, how are you?
I am good, Wendy. How you doing?
Good. I had someone ask me, so what do you guys talk about on Random Fit? And my question was, I couldn't say anything other than fit, but there's all kinds of random stuff in our world. So I wanted to make sure we introduced it that way today. A little different. But today's topic, we are talking about something that is going to be occurring on June 5th this year. It is always going to be the first Wednesday of the month of June, and it is Global Running Day. So Ken, tell me what that is.
Well, basically, it's just it's become a worldwide event to celebrate running. You know, the ability to unify millions of people around the world in one common activity, which is running. So I run occasionally, and next Wednesday, it's on my calendar to start my day off getting outside and going for a run.
Well, and I had a client this morning who is a Ironman competitor, and she is actually competing in the Worlds coming up here in France. And, you know, I told her, I'm like, today's podcast, we're going to talk about, you have maybe not heard it, but it's Global Running Day. She's like, that's on June 5th, Wendy. Of course, I know all about it. So apparently we are learning something new on our own, but I love the fact that the number one thing that I got out of this was there's not a specified distance. And it's really about just getting your friends, your family, your children, everyone outdoors, hitting the pavement, sticking on your shoes and running, but running at a pace that you're comfortable with, even if it's a run walk. But then also, too, that you don't have to say, okay, I have to hit 3 miles or I have to run a 5K or I have to do a half marathon. It's really whatever you have trained for and whatever you're comfortable doing. They just want you to get out and run.
So how far are you going to run, Wendy?
My goal that day is 3 miles. So nothing that is earth shattering, but that is what my plan is. If all goes well that day, might be nothing for somebody that is an Ironman. However, it is a good distance for me, something I'm comfortable with, and something that I try to strive for a couple of times a week.
Oh, there you go.
How about you?
Mine's going to be between 4.5 and 5.
Of course. Look at you, just show me up, dude.
Well, you know, whatever you said, I was going to add a couple miles onto that anyway. But for me, it's actually a distance my dog is conditioned for. I mean, I'll run jog, but my dog will stay pretty good for about 4 to 5 miles. Then after that, I'm kind of pulling her along. So I'm basically I'm deciding that based on my dog.
Well, that's good because my dog, we walk the neighborhood, and between all the stopping and smelling, I don't get any running done. It's more of like a walk and stop and then pull and then walk and stop and pull. So my dog will be staying home when I'm trying to do that. However, we will go for a nice walk after. But I don't know if you know this, Ken, when we were doing some research about it, I did not know that it was originally called the National Running Day. And that actually started in 2009. It was all of these runner enthusiasts that wanted it to be something that was done nationally. They had their day. And of course, everything was hashtag National Day. And so therefore, they could start to meet people throughout the nation that had the same interests as they did. But in 2016, they made it transitioned from a national event to a global event. And the very first time that actually happened and they made it global, they had over 160 different countries participate in that run event, which I found fascinating.
That's amazing. I mean,
Fun.
like, can you imagine? I mean, can you think of another activity that everybody around the world can do on the same day?
No.
You can't do it. Can't do it.
Well, I mean, I guess people could cycle and they could swim, they could do something, but
now you need equipment, right? If you're saying swimming,
right.
now you need a pool or an ocean or a lake.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why they chose running. And it was because that it is cost effective. You just need a really good pair of shoes. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to be extremely conditioned because it is literally just getting outdoors, working on your cardiovascular health and trying just to be active. But it's also about community, which I really liked. That I know here,
huge.
and
Yeah.
I did you this. I get emails from Lululemon and they're like, okay, we're holding this. We have one particular Lululemon that happens to be in this area that people like to go and hang out because it's outdoor. It's like an outdoor kind of, and they are hosting a big global event, which is one of the things like, wow, Ken, like they are doing this. We're not just doing the podcast to do it. Like they are literally promoting it. Whether and Lulu is really not a technical running company. It is literally, we know it for the yoga and casual wear, and now they're, tennis and running. And so I found that to be pretty cool because I had never noticed it before.
Yeah, the local sports shop and the local running shop up the street, they're doing, they're taking advantage of the marketing opportunity, definitely. But for the point that you brought up, you want to make sure you have good socks, good shoes, good equipment. Even though we are talking about running, and all you really need is a good pair of shoes. The sales were up. Granted, there's a recent holiday sale that was just happening, but definitely capitalizing on that event as well. So,
well, and just side note, that was another reason that I bought a new pair of running shoes, because I'm like, hey, I need to make sure that I'm ready. And the last thing I need is more running shoes, but they were super cute. They were on sale. If they're on sale, you have to take advantage of that, right?
But more importantly, they were super cute.
Super cute. Or as they say these days, they were fire. So, yeah. I'm trying to get with the lingo because I said super cute to one of my kids, and that did not go well.
They're like, okay, boomer.
But one of the things that I really liked in another key initiative with this Global Running Day is they have something called the Million Kid Run Initiative, which to me was part of the Running Day's overall mission, which, like we said, it was about community, getting people out there, working on their health, uniting communities in the running world. But it was also to really, with the $1 million or Million Kid Run Initiative, it was to inspire the next generation of runners, which I found to be something that was super cool. Because, we always tell our kids to go out and do things, but with that particular initiative, more communities are getting involved, more people that still have school that year round, they're doing some school events around it. So I found that to be obviously pretty cool too.
And, for me and having two children of my own, we, we'll do more treadmill work when it comes to running, just because outdoor running, cross country, track, those are pretty specific events. But on this day also, we'll try to go out as a family and break away from our traditional activities when it comes to cardio training. But getting outside, like I said, I was gonna run with my dog, but the other part of that is because my kids are still in school, we will do something when they get out of school, just because, well, part of it's that it's a half day. So getting them outside and getting them to do something before they sit down, do their homework or whatever homework they have left. And the aspect of, okay, we try to do something physical at least 6 days a week, as sports and activities go. If there's no sports, we try to do an activity, and that's a day that I'll try to encourage with them to get outside and do something like running, because it is Global Running Day.
Well, and if you can't get outside and you have access
Mhm.
to a treadmill, they do a virtual event as well. So
Right.
you can't get out of it by saying, "Oh, it's raining outside and I don't want to run in the rain." If you have access to that, they just want you to partake in that event. And I think, like I said, it was something that I learned more and more about. Started seeing emails sent to me like, "Hey, we're doing this in the community. We want you guys to be involved." I was really excited again to see the kid initiative. But I think before, we can talk about global running, we can talk about that. But if you are going to participate, just be sure on social media to hashtag Global Running Day, and you will be kind of paired and partnered with a lot of other people that are also participating in the event. And you never know who you may meet or who you may see. But it's also kind of cool to see the different countries that are involved that are being a part of it and posting their pictures. So just hashtag Global Running Day if you're going to do it, June 5th for sure.
Right. And I know, I mean, you and I both know enough common people that will, we have common friends that will do just that. They will hashtag that Global Running Day. So get it out there.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get people that just like to hashtag whatever or post whatever they're doing physically, whether it's inside or outside. But if there's going to be a day to do it, this is
That
one
is
of them.
it.
Yep.
So today on Random Fit, myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller, we're talking about Global Running Day. It is June 5th, but it's important to think about running. And I think it's also important to really just kind of take a step back and think about running smart, hence the run strong, run smart, and thinking about some of the key strategies before you decide to go in and run. Because if you have been sitting on the couch, you haven't ran at all, I don't suggest, lacing up your shoes, hitting the pavement, just from the couch to the road, and then trying to run however many miles or the distance that you think you're going to be okay with, because that could actually set you back. So Ken, why don't we talk a little bit about just small, I mean, again, it's more of a review. We've done like a really long and detailed podcast on Random Fit about running, but just some keys for success in running to get someone ready for this event, especially if they haven't been running in a while.
Well, I think we need to look at, okay, where are you coming from? If we're just getting off the couch, the one thing you don't want to do Wendy's 2 miles, and you don't want to do my 5 miles.
Hey, I'm 3, my friend. Give me another one.
Sorry. Thought I heard 2, but 3.
Yeah, try again.
Yeah, but the point is if you're coming from doing nothing, the last thing you want to do is do too much of something, because the risk of injury, joint issues, soreness. If you've got a job where you have to get up and sit down and now you're really sore to the point where you're debilitated, you want to make sure that you get started off in a fair and reasonable manner, meaning that the intensity, the duration that you're choosing to do your first time out is real and reasonable for who you are and what you've been doing. So if you're just getting off the couch, just know that you don't have to make it all up in one day. But we want to start off with, first of all, saying that, again, reiterating the fact that this is a global initiative to get people to get outside as a means of getting healthy. So if it's just about getting off the couch to run for this one day, well, we encourage you to take a more long-term or maybe a lifestyle approach to it. So if use this event as a springboard to look at, well, how can I incorporate physical activity, in this case, running, as a way of getting some exercise, getting your heart and lungs to do things that they should be able to do when it comes to their capacity to work. So first things first, start off nice and slow and think about how running can be perhaps brought into your lifestyle for the long term.
Mm-hmm. Well, so yeah, set your goals. What is it that you want to do? If you are doing this, like you said, for day one, maybe this is your starting point and you do a walk run. What do you feel comfortable with? That I think it's going to be something that's first and foremost. And if you have an app, you have some kind of, technology that you can wear just to kind of look at your heart rate, make sure that you're not going above and beyond of what's normal for you. And because we don't want somebody in like a high zone. So, just really thinking about different zones, what your body can stand. You push yourself because you want this to be a good event, but running is really hard on your body, Ken, really hard. We talk about this all the time, the pounding that's going on in your vertebrae, especially if you don't have really good running mechanics. So I think first and foremost, besides setting your goal, being realistic of what you can achieve, it's important to also prepare your body before the run. So the first thing we're always going to say is what? Grab a foam roller or some kind of percussion device,
Right.
and get rolling, or work on your calves, work on the outer thigh. So people will say, oh, it's my IT band. It's actually the quad, but your outer quad, working on your outer hips, loosening up those areas, and then really getting a very good stretch in your hip flexors. So therefore we have better movement quality within the hip complex, which obviously is super important. We want good range of motion in the ankles, good range of motion in the hips, and, just try to kind of loosen up the upper body as well. So go through some foam rolling, go through some sort of percussion device, whichever first, then go through some static stretches. And then if you have time, maybe do some walking lunges with rotation, some type of dynamic movement before you decide just to head out as well. So go for the flexibility first, ideally activation second, but
Right. If you're going to follow the continuum, there is a method to the madness in getting your body prepared to do Wendy's 3 miles, right?
Yes.
But
Well, I think core work, this core work,
Yeah.
we've talked about it. If you can go through and you add the flexibility on one side on areas that are overactive or quote tight, the other side is also going to be very weak. That's what allowed those compensations to happen. That's what allowed that tightness to occur. So ideally, if you really want to work on proper movement mechanics, especially if you are going to go run, then activate your core. 29 muscles that protect your spine, do things like planks and bridges. I'm a big advocate, as you know, for lateral tube walking, get the outer hips firing a little bit, go in and think about different types of maybe balance exercises to get the arches strong and activated before you go out and put your running shoes on and start running. I think all of that is going to be super, super important, especially if this is something that's going to just spark your running for the next couple months or maybe year. And then just prepare your body.
Yeah. Well, for my clients, and it's funny you said, Wendy, before you put your shoes on, I actually have a routine that I've shared with my clients before the shoes come on.
Yeah.
Right? Before the shoes come on. And it's a simple routine. And you mentioned basically every exercise in there, but it's you're doing 15 bridges, 15 plank ups. And you mentioned planks, Wendy. And the plank ups, basically you're going from laying on the floor and you're just pushing yourself up into a plank. Bring yourself down nice and slow. Do 10 of those. And then you'll do a single leg balance, and you're just going to reach your foot out to forward, to the side, back. Do that 4 times around and then switch legs. So that's 3 exercises. And something that we can do, if you're going to go for a run, do a double touch. Reach down, touch your toes, reach up, touch the sky, and do a set of alternating side lunges. So lunge right, lunge left, and you get those five things done. You've turned on all those things you brought up, Wendy. You're turning on your core, you're opening up your hips, right? And then the shoes can come on. And the other big thing that I tell my clients to do is do a dynamic warm-up. And for all my clients, especially those that are more athletically inclined, or that's what their goal is to be more athletic in their lifestyle. Because Wendy, when you talk to your people and they walk out the door, how do they warm up? How do they, outside of the 5 exercises that we just gave as an example, what do they do when they basically leave their doorstep?
Usually before they meet me, they would
Yeah.
maybe stretch their calves like on a curb or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
do that, and then they would stretch their hamstrings, which we know a lot of times people shouldn't necessarily be stretching their
Yeah.
hamstrings. They don't stretch the front hip, and then they just put on their shoes and run.
And
They
then they
may
run.
they walk for a minute or two, and
Yep.
then they start their run. So their warm up is a walk.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe they'll walk, but they'll just,
Maybe.
I go half speed for a block, and then they start running.
Mhm.
And then when they stop, basically they're 2 houses down, and then they go inside the house.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They walk for their cool down, and then they take their shoes off, shower, and call it a day.
Yeah. So what I have my people do is they'll do, like, say, like side shuffle with a giant arm swing. So basically they're doing some shuffling jumping jacks, maybe for 4 houses worth or a block. They turn around and they do the same side shuffle to the other side. And they might, if the environment is safe and level, or if the street is clear enough, they can do some karaoke's where they're basically doing a traveling trunk twist. And then I'll have them do some skipping, and that'll just work on some coordinating and patterning. And then you can start off with your nice jog and then into your run. But I have them, wake up the hips, wake up the foot and ankle, get their glutes and their adductors fired up, get their shoulders warmed up with those, the side shuffle with the giant arm swing. And then now that they've done before the shoes come on into their dynamic, now they're ready. Their body's nice and tuned up, warmed up, ready to rock and roll.
Well, and I think it's important too, before you put on your shoes, you need to look at them. I had a client recently.
Yeah.
Well, and I say this because I have a client that recently just wears particular shoes to the gym, but she's been wearing the same shoes for 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
And I looked at the bottom of them. They look brand new. So when you're looking at them, you're like, those are really nice looking shoes. However, they're
Right.
broken down. So if you are going to start running and you're going to use this global running day as the day to start, or if you haven't been running or you haven't looked at your shoes, there are a lot of different places that can analyze your gait, because some people have high arches. Some people have really weak arches. So their feet have flattened. So they go into what we call pronation, which can be really, really hard on your knees. Also shows that your outer hip and glutes are weak, mind you. But I think it's important to get a really good pair of running shoes that work for you. And I say that because when I started running again, I have a certain brand of shoes. I ran a marathon. I used to run half marathons all the time.
Mhm.
And there's a particular brand that never caused me to have blisters. I never had knee pain. I didn't have any issues while I was running those distances, but it was a certain shoe based on the way my foot and my body run, and the way that I hit the pavement and the way that I propel myself forward. They were a perfect brand. Now they're pretty expensive in comparison to some of the other shoes that even the same company make. However, I decided to grab a pair of different brand, different shoes. They are, quote, running shoes, but they're not ones that I would normally run in. And I felt miserable. It was,
Right.
Even though I hadn't been running, it wasn't me physically. It was just the way that my foot felt in these shoes. So look at your shoes. Just because they're clean and they look nice doesn't mean
Right.
that they're the right shoe to run in. Also, if you can get someone to look at how you run and they can suggest shoes that would be beneficial for you, that would be step 2 and really, really important. But if you know a brand that fits you well, depending on your foot, if you've got bunions or you got weird things happening with your feet, because some people have some awkward looking feet, then you just want to make sure that you have the right toe box and everything like that, that's going to help you be successful in your running journey, no matter if it's one day for this one global running day or something that you're going to continue to do. That is extremely important.
And to your point, Wendy, finding shoes that fit you, that you like, I tell my clients to buy 2 of them. So that if you're active enough, you're going, whether you give it a certain amount, whether you're counting your mileage, if you're one of those runners that how many miles have been on a certain set of shoes, and by, if not by feel or look, like what you're saying, Wendy, but by mileage, because the amount of compression that the soles can take, I mean, that goes away over time. So it'll lose its absorbability or whatever
the structure and the
yeah. So that foot arch. So if you have a higher foot arch and you need that support, well, all that mileage is going to take away that support over time. So I tell my clients, if you have a pair of shoes that you like, a brand that you like, a model that you like, buy 2 of them, especially if we're just talking about apparel sales or shoe sales, especially if you find a good pair on sale, buy 2, maybe 3, especially if you are wearing down your shoes fast enough because you're doing that many miles in a week, or you have that many events, or you're just that frequent of a runner, that long distance of a runner. Having a shoe that you can rely on, that you know what you're getting, buy 2 or 3. Because I know I have a client that they discontinued a brand that he really loved.
Oh yeah.
So he had to go to another brand or another model, which just didn't give him the same feel. So he was like, man, I wish I bought 5 of them. But it's an investment, but you're going to make the investment over time anyway.
Well, hopefully, if you stick with it, that's super important. Right. And today on Random Fit, myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller are talking about Global Running Day, that in order to run hard, you want to run safe and run smart, and you want it to be a good running day. If you're starting your journey, make sure that you have a plan, you know how far you want to run. That's actually where I was headed next. There's 2 other things that I find extremely important. So before we wrap up, in order to be successful, we talked about making sure you warm up and you cool down. I think it's important, obviously, to really look at your shoes, but you also want to have a plan of where you're running to. And that is something that my clients that are beginning a running regimen, and they're like, okay, I want to run 3 miles. Well, my question to them is always like, well, what do you do? Are you running on the road? Do you have like a trail in your house? Like for me, when I walk out the door, I have a really steep hill. So I walk that hill, and then I start my run, because I know that if I start my run going up that hill, I'm going to be miserable because I'm already tired. And so, but if I go and start at the stop sign and I run my neighborhood, run outside my neighborhood, run to my kid's school that has a track around it that is a dirt track, and it is kind of hilly. If I run that one time, make a full circle, and then run back, it's 3.1 miles. Or miles. So I know exactly my path, my what I need to do in order to hit that goal. So you want to have some sort of idea of where you're running. If you're not running with a running group, or if you're looking at where is it safe to run. I know in California, Ken, there's probably certain parks you can run at, but I don't think you would want to run on the main street in some of those places, just because I know how traffic is, and I know how chaotic it can be, especially on sidewalks. So I think it's important to know your path, know your distance, and then have a plan, because that puts you in a mental positive mindset, because you can say, I'm already halfway there, or I'm almost halfway there, or I'm on the home stretch headed home, and I'm going to push it a little bit harder because I still have more gas in the tank. So I think that also helps with the mind and getting yourself in a good place, because you already have it mapped out in your head. And then it's going to help you go that distance that you really are planning on trying to go before each and every run.
Yeah, I have a route like that, but instead of the incline that you mentioned, Wendy, mine has to do more with wind, right? Because we get that that wind from the bay, and it just comes at my city pretty strong, right? So if I'm running the beginning part of the run, I'll get the wind right at my face, right? But then you lateral over, and then you start to loop around, and then that wind is at your back. So from that standpoint, I'm starting off with this basically, it's like running up against a wall, depending on how hard the wind is blowing. But then when you turn around, then that run home, that backside of the run is easy as can be. I just remember when I was training for my one marathon, I felt really bad because I had the kids were really small, and I put them both in the stroller, and I'm pushing the stroller against the wind, and I stopped for a second, just to check in on them. And poor kids, their face were so wind burnt, their cheeks were red, and their lips were dry, and I was just like, oh man, I'm so sorry. So
there was a year right there. By the way.
Know, I was like, it's a good thing I checked on them, because they just look weather beaten. And then I just turned them around. So not only is there terrain that you need to look at, but also wind is also I felt so. I mean, I'm bringing it up today because I'm still carrying that day with me.
Let it go, Ken. It's okay.
They're alive still, so they're
alive still.
but their cheeks were so red and just But of course they're kids. They don't know any better, right? They're like,
Right.
oh, this is not supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
But just for me, it's my route is depending on the weather as far as wind goes. And sometimes the wind can get pretty gusty to where it's work when you run. So just like you have incline, like you mentioned, Wendy, I have wind that I need to consider for my route. But
Well, and that also kind of blends into the last thing I wanted to say that I find to be super important, especially if you want to be successful. I live in Atlanta. They call it Hotlanta. Our producer just went to the east or was southeast. He was like, I don't know how you people live in the humidity like you do. Again, he's an Arizona guy, and it can take the breath out of you some days because it is very, very humid. So if you are going to be running, it's important to make sure that you're well hydrated and that you've got, obviously your sunblock and everything on, or hats,
Right.
whatever it is that's going to help keep you cool. But I think I know I was one of these people. I don't like to run with things in my hands. And so at that point, I used to live in Atlanta or in Arizona. So we always had camel packs where, you could wear like a backpack where you could drink water. You can do that if you don't like to hold on to things. They have these little fanny packs that if you decide you want to do that, you can put water in. But hydration is super, super important, especially if it's hot outside. You are going to go for longer distances. Just be smart, because the last thing you need to do is get dehydrated. Then you come home and feel terrible. And you're like, I don't know why. My body was fine, but I feel awful. I'm not running again. Well, a lot of that is due to dehydration and not really thinking about the nutrition before and or after your run. So just make sure that you're smart when you decide you're going to do something like that and you're prepared.
Right. But if you're just starting off with a simple walk around the block or a walk around your local park, a simple bottle of water is plenty. You're right. But if you plan to,
you don't want to walk around with your big Stanley. What are you talking about?
You need your little pull cart for one of those.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But
well, Ken,
planning's good.
Yeah, planning. This was something that I'm glad we could talk about. I was excited to see that we had not missed it. And I am going to be looking for your hashtag when you're out running your 4 to 5 miles with or without the dog. I will do the same without the dog. And we hope that you guys that are listening to us join us on the Global Running Day. It's something that, again, 160 countries are going to be doing as well. And we want you guys to join us and be a part of it.
That's right. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll catch some of our viewers or our listeners out there.
Hashtag random fit too. How about that?
Yeah. Put that in there, and then
that way we can see it.
Yeah, we'll look it up. We'll look it up now. All right, Wendy. So always great time to share information and to hear about how you like to challenge yourself with those 3 miles. You walk first, get up the hill, and then you go. All right.
And then I run.
And then you run. There you have it. So hopefully we gave you in your new cute shoes. You're fit.
No, fire.
You're there on fire.
Fire.
So for those of you listening to us here on Random Fit, thank you so much for listening to us today on this episode of Random Fit. If you like what you had to hear, like, follow, subscribe, download, and more importantly, share. Let your friends who you think should get off the couch and go running listen to this episode of Random Fit. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.